If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Welcome to the Vivid Minds podcast with your hosts Sebastian Stockton and Kyle Alexander. Today we're discussing about cryptocurrency with our amazing guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, my name is Ksenia. I started a blog called Girl Meets Crypto, where I'm trying to simplify cryptocurrency and the world of decentralized finance.
Pretty cool. So what is Bitcoin or cryptocurrency?
So Bitcoin is the first cryptocurrency, and cryptocurrency in general is a new form of money that is completely digital, and it has the potential to create a real revolution in the world of finance.
So for a couple years, I feel like I've heard a lot about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency,
Yeah.
but how long has it actually been around?
It's been around for over a decade. So it was born through the forum for people who were into libertarian economics and basically protecting the right of freedom and right of privacy of information. So it was born in 2008, but it started working more in like 2010, 2009.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you mean like so you say like people just kind of like didn't recognize it in like in the past, but like as soon as like 2010 it started like peaking up and like people started showing like a lot of interest into it and like Bitcoin just like kind of like started like rising up into the public eye.
Yeah, for sure. Because initially it was, I think the concept itself is mind-blowing and it sounds like something that
Yeah.
might never work, right? Because we're all used to money, we're used to dollars, used to pounds, so money that are called fiat money. And
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
basically, I think people or the person who invented Bitcoin, they saw some flaws in fiat money and they saw some flaws in traditional financial system where we go through banks, we go through different intermediaries, we pay crazy fees, and just we have all the issues in terms of global payments. So they've seen this issue basically before people asked for some kind of a new solution.
Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about Satoshi Nakamoto, because I heard some things saying that that was just a surname and that isn't really the person who created Bitcoin. And also on Google, though, it says that it is the creator. So,
It is a very interesting story because actually no one knows who it was. So initially, this person or maybe a group of people even, they appeared on the emailing list where they send the idea and send the white paper of Bitcoin. And actually, no one ever asked anything private from this person, and he or she or them never revealed any information. So still, by today's date, no one knows who invented Bitcoin. And there were different crazy guesses, ranging from some people who were initially in conversations with Satoshi Nakamoto to some Japanese person who was based in LA and had the same name and surname. And even one of the guesses, one of the people who might be Satoshi, is Elon Musk.
oh,
Mm-hmm.
wow.
Yeah, so it's quite
Oh,
intriguing because actually no one knows.
Yeah. Would you
yeah.
say,
So
sorry for interrupting, what's up?
oh no, it's fine, bro. I was just gonna like ask, so do you think that it was a surname, or do you think like, cause like no none of us know who really made Bitcoin, but do you personally think it's a surname that was used?
I don't know, to be honest. I think if it was a surname,
Mm-hmm.
it's something really genius because it's, this person definitely wanted to hide his identity because one of the
Yeah.
reasons for creating Bitcoin was that it's impersonal, right? You can keep your privacy because none of the transactions, you don't have your name written on the transactions. It's just the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
Mm-hmm.
if it's a surname, it would be genius trick because it's something so much on the surface that people probably will
Mm-hmm.
never think that it's so simple.
Yeah. So Bitcoin's open source, correct?
Yeah.
So could anybody just copy the system and create another?
Um, they can, and this is what is going on with altcoins, because Bitcoin code was open source, so it's anyone can see the code, anyone can copy the code, and in this way, Bitcoin creator ensured that there will be no counterfeit in terms of double transactions.
Mm-hmm.
And also
Mm-hmm.
because the whole network can work on Bitcoin. So the code can be, and
Mm-hmm.
it was patched by the earlier community. So they found some flaws in it and they perfected the code. So basically, what
Okay.
is happening with altcoins? It's people who copied the Bitcoin code and they try to put some new ideas on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I hear you talk about like this code and everything.
Mhm.
But could you elaborate more on like how could people like use Bitcoin and like where can people access it? You know, like find it, like if they would like to purchase like a part of a Bitcoin or something.
Yeah, so if you want to purchase Bitcoin or any part of it because it's divisible, you can buy it either from the exchanges or you can open the Bitcoin wallet. And for example, if someone wants to send you Bitcoin, they can send it directly from their wallet to your wallet.
Mm-hmm.
What
Because
are some trustworthy wallets you'd recommend for people to use?
I think the best ones are Ledger and Trezor. So there are different types of wallets. It's
mm-hmm.
quite complicated. It sounds quite complicated in terms of keeping and protecting your Bitcoins. But there are
Mm-hmm.
some wallets that live on your phone as an app. Some wallets that are like a separate device that you order from a website and have it in real life. So this is like a hardware wallet.
Yeah. So we talk about like the safest way to you know like use Bitcoin or like get Bitcoin or anything like that.
Mhm.
But like because you know there's scammers out there and everything, and I'm sure like a lot of people are aware of that. But what would be some advice that you would like give to like help people like recognize like a Bitcoin scammer?
I think usually the rule is if it's too easy, it's too good to be true. So,
Oh, okay.
Okay.
some schemes like, especially now when a lot of famous people and people who have influence in the society are posting and tweeting a lot about Bitcoin and different cryptocurrencies. One of the schemes I've seen, it was like, I received this and that amount of money from this person, and now I'm trying to start a giveaway. Just follow the link, or something like send me 1 Bitcoin and I will send you back 5 Bitcoins.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the general
Hmm.
rule is
Okay.
that if you read it and you're just like, this is too generous, so probably it
Yeah.
is a scam.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can definitely see that for sure. Would you say it's I would think that you know since I don't really like know much about Bitcoin, I
Mhm.
would think that it'd be like a different process to like you know like make payments and everything, but like how difficult is it to make a payment through Bitcoin?
It's not difficult. It's actually, it might be even easier than paying with the normal ways, like the usual
Oh,
currencies that we're
really?
used
Huh.
to. Because basically, one of the main things of Bitcoin is that the transaction is really fast. So let's say if I'm based in UK and you're based in US, we can transact in Bitcoin. We don't need to exchange currencies because it's the same Bitcoin anywhere. And also the transaction will reach you much faster because I can send it, let's say at night, and it will reach you in a couple of
Mm-hmm.
minutes. Otherwise, if I was sending you money through the bank, I would have to wait for the next working day. Then they will have to process it and we'll have to spend a couple of days waiting.
Mhm, yeah. And I know a lot of people hate that like you have to like wait so much like during bank accounts and everything, you know, like for them to like
Yeah,
transaction the
for
money and
sure.
send it over to you and everything. So this does sound like a easier and like quicker process that people would probably feel more comfortable with.
Yeah, for sure.
Would you? Yeah. So like, would you list any advantages of Bitcoin?
Advantages. I think
Hmm.
the first advantage is that it's decentralized. So it means that there's no single person or no single entity or even the government that controls Bitcoin. So you get rid of the intermediary in any of your transactions. So people transact directly between each
Hmm.
other. Um, and initially, Bitcoin transactions had really low fees. Now we know with the
Hmm.
price rising and all-time highs every day, now transactions are higher, but still with other types of crypto, you can transact basically for no fee or relatively small fee. Then, so the second advantage that I mentioned already is the proof of counterfeit. So it's impossible to create something like double spending because of the blockchain and because of the nature of the code, because it's open source and it's maintained by the whole network.
So, would there be any disadvantages, you think?
Disadvantages. I think the more adoption there is, the higher is the price. So with a high price come high charges for transactions, and the transaction speed is perfected in some other cryptocurrencies. But I think now with the emergence of different types of crypto and different altcoins, it's more like Bitcoin is viewed like the store value, and other cryptos are like the means of exchange.
Mm.
So, where are people the most at risk using cryptocurrency? Like, on your credit card, we all have our PIN numbers and stuff for our bank accounts. Where are people at risk using cryptocurrency and Bitcoin
With
to get stolen
with
from?
cryptocurrencies, it's definitely from the wallets. So when you get the crypto wallet, you have the set of keys. You have the public key that you use to receive money, and you can share this key. And you have your private key that you use just to send money. And if someone else has your private key, they can technically take out anything that you have on your wallet. So this is one main drawback. And also in
Mm-hmm.
terms of exchanges, because currently a lot of exchanges are centralized, so they belong to a certain company. So potentially there were some cases in Bitcoin history when there were issues with the management of exchanges, and people just lost money because exchanges stole the money and ran away.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
That's actually super interesting. So, when you say like steal the money and run away, you mean like they're able to like would you say like they're able to like hack into like the coding or something and then just like take it and just run with it?
Yeah, I think the most famous story about this is the story of one of the biggest exchanges in Bitcoin history. It was called MT
Hmm.
if I'm pronouncing it correctly. So this exchange had some issues with the management. The management team didn't see that there were some people taking the money out, and this flaw was going on for about a year. So they lost quite a lot of money of their users. And at the end, they could not refund this money because they just didn't have them.
so is this an issue with like the wallet, though, the wallet company, not the Bitcoin?
It's the issue with the exchange, yeah, and not the Bitcoin itself, because the Bitcoin code itself,
Mm-hmm.
what is, I think, why it became so interesting and why it might be revolutionary, because during these 12 years, there were no cases when Bitcoin code was found faulty.
Hmm.
Um, like a couple of
Mm-hmm.
weeks ago, there were the news that there was a double spending, so like double transaction on the Bitcoin blockchain. But then it turned out that this was just fake news.
So in the future, where do you see Bitcoin and with all these other cryptocurrencies, which one do you think will rank on top in the end?
I think it's going to be definitely still Bitcoin and Ethereum, because Bitcoin is viewed more as the hedge against inflation. and especially with the news from this week, when companies like MicroStrategy are creating the conferences to educate other huge corporations on the value of Bitcoin and making
Mm-hmm.
statements like Bitcoin is going to be the new gold. So I think Bitcoin is going to be here to stay. And Ethereum is basically the base for any decentralized finance project.
Hmm.
So this is like the beginning of a new industry.
Yeah. So I heard you mention Ethereum. That's another example of cryptocurrency, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What? Yeah.
So this is like the first altcoin, one of
Okay.
the biggest.
Yeah. So like, what are some other examples of cryptocurrency?
Oh, there's so many.
Hmm.
There are actually, I think there's over 3,000 cryptocurrencies,
Damn, that's a
if
lot.
not if not even more. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so like, which ones, because I know there's I think I've seen a few. I just can't really remember the names, but which would you like recommend to a like a newcomer? It's like just come across cryptocurrency and it's like, okay, which one should I like get into first? Like, which one would you recommend or prefer?
It's a really good question because I think it's quite tricky with different new cryptos because there are a lot of projects that have really good fundamental values, so have really good idea, the team behind them, and obviously there are some projects that are just go into balloon at some point and then they will hugely dump, and for example in a year or two they will not exist in the market. But I think in terms of investing, it's really personal and it depends on your risk to safety ratio, let's say like this. So I think what is in top 10 now is definitely gonna get more adoption just because people hear about this project more. But there are some other really interesting projects that are now ranking in top 100, let's say, and they're definitely going to be higher.
So whenever we hear the term Bitcoin mining, what does that actually mean is going on?
So this is the process of creating a Bitcoin. Basically, it works in the following way. Bitcoin's underlying technology is called blockchain. So this is the method of keeping the record and managing transactions. And in simple terms, it's like if you have a list and you write down all the transactions on it, at some point you run out of space on the list. So this list becomes
Mm-hmm.
kind of closed, and now it is called a block. So this block is linked to other blocks of transaction.
Okay. So how hard is it to do this? Could we do this like at home, or is this really advanced?
That's a good
It's
question.
Yeah, that's a really good question because I think especially in social media now, there are so many accounts who are saying that start mining Bitcoin and become the millionaire. Um, so
Mm-hmm.
there are different ways of Bitcoin mining because to add the block, so to mine the Bitcoin, you have to solve different, quite difficult, not quite, very difficult mathematical equations. And this is done through the computer. So people who mine Bitcoin
Mm-hmm.
professionally and who have proper facilities, they have special types of computers that have a lot of power to solve these equations. So they work nonstop and they have to consume a lot of electricity. But also, you can mine
Mm-hmm.
Bitcoin, for example, on your phone, and there are some apps that allow you to do this. But it's going to be some really small amount of Bitcoin. Like, let's say, with the current prices, you will get something like $30 per month.
In 100 years, where do you see cryptocurrency playing a role in our world?
That's a really interesting question. Um, I think a lot on the cryptocurrency sphere depends on how well people are educated on that. Because currently, when I started learning about crypto, I thought that it's such a difficult industry and a lot of people don't know about it. And that's why there is
Mm-hmm.
so many fake news. There are so many people who enter the market who start buying things. They buy high, they sell low, and then they say that crypto industry is a scam. So I think in
Hmm.
terms of
Yeah.
where the industry is going, there are two important factors. One is how well people will be educated. Will they see this as real projects and not just, like a pure gamble? And
Yeah.
the second thing is corporations adopting Bitcoin, adopting Ethereum, and just generally, maybe even governments giving their okay to the whole industry because still now it's not regulated.
Hmm.
And we can hear a lot of news from different countries like they're planning to ban it, they're planning to keep an eye on crypto or something like this.
Hmm.
Hmm. So, a lot of people have a stigma around cryptocurrency, I think, because if you look
Hmm.
online, a lot of like back dealer websites and stuff, and even the black market uses Bitcoin for their transactions. What would you say to like put people at ease, kind of using it, if they're, kind of worried about that,
Um,
that its use is being used for criminal activity?
I think it's used for criminal activities much less than, let's say, cash dollars.
Hmm.
And also, it's not completely anonymous. So if you know exactly what was the amount of transaction, and if you have some information about people who were doing the transaction, you can potentially trace it back when, in terms of cash, in the situation with people paying for some criminal activities with cash, you have completely no trace for it.
Hmm. So in a way, it's actually unsmart that they're doing this. It's it seems smart because it's like a lot of people may think it's untraceable, but it's not. It's really open.
I wouldn't say it's super easy to trace it, but let's say if governments
Okay.
would be willing to trace it, they could. Because I think a lot of stigma about
Hmm.
Bitcoin being involved in different illegal transactions is coming from the earlier story with the company called Silk Road. That was like one of the
Yes.
stages for bigger adoption. Um,
Yeah.
you probably know the story about the guy who opened the online Amazon for drugs, where
Oh,
people could,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, did you hear
yeah.
about that?
No, I'm actually not familiar with that
I
story.
have.
So it was in the earlier days of Bitcoin, when Bitcoin was maybe a couple of years old. One guy decided to sell, I think it was mushrooms or something else. So he just decided to sell it, and he used the special program that could close his API address, so it was untraceable where he's based, and he used Bitcoin, so people could transact with it freely. And it worked for a couple of years, and it turned out to be a huge project. Basically, people could order anything they wanted, anything that they couldn't buy on the legal markets, like fake IDs or drugs or anything else that they just wanted to cover and not to keep these
Hmm.
transactions open. And they've been using the Bitcoin. But I was just reading a book recently where a lot of early adopters of Bitcoin were saying that this was really damaging for their reputation, and more people in the community were unhappy with this than the happy customers.
Yeah, man,
Yeah.
I wasn't familiar with that story. That's actually super interesting, and I didn't like know anything about that, but that's actually like, damn, I have to like research more about that. But I wanted to ask, how is Bitcoin broken down?
Broken down, you mean can it
Yeah,
be divisible?
yeah. Well, like, basically to elaborate, what I mean is like, so like how like the USD can be broken down into 100 pennies. How is like Bitcoin like broken down? Is it like you know?
Yeah, it's the same system. It's really easily divisible. And if I'm not mistaken, it's 21 million Satoshis in one Bitcoin.
Oh, oh wait, you said 21 million, and like one Bitcoin?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken,
Damn,
with a
that's a lot.
number of millions.
Wow.
Whoa, wow. Yeah, shit.
So, in relation to the US dollar, how much does Bitcoin cost right now?
Right now it's somewhere between 36 and $37,000.
For one
Okay.
Bitcoin?
Yeah. Yeah,
Damn, that's a
that's why
lot.
it's really smart that it was divisible, because I think not so many
Yeah.
people know about this, especially the newcomers who say that they want to
Hmm.
buy Bitcoin, but they think it's too expensive to buy now because they cannot
Mm-hmm.
buy a whole Bitcoin.
Yeah. Do you expect the price to like raise up in the next couple of years?
I think it definitely will. It's probably gonna rise because now we're in the bull cycle. So
Mm-hmm.
every more or less every 4 years, there's the rise of all the prices in crypto market as it was historically. So now we are in bull market because the price has already risen to, I think it's at least 4 times. So definitely it's gonna go up, but no one knows when it's gonna be the blow off top. So when it's gonna start falling.
I think it's so just crazy and unimaginable how interesting in cryptocurrency is and how smart the creator of Bitcoin was, because he put so many dynamics of different parts of like the idea of economy and setting up for like inflation with this in the future without him having to even be able to control
Exactly.
it. So tell us a little bit about how like we won't be able to mine a certain amount till a certain like 2041,
Yeah,
right?
so the code was created in such a way that that Bitcoin will be deflationary. So in this case, it can be used against inflation because the issue was that governments can print any amount of fiat currency because it's not backed up by anything. But
Mm-hmm.
Bitcoin,
Yeah.
there will be just 21 million of Bitcoins. So currently we have something like over 18.5 million Bitcoins mined. And that's why also the price is gonna rise because there will be a lot of demand potentially, and the supply is gonna
Mm-hmm.
be always fixed.
Wow, so people really like
Hmm.
should like really start their investment soon, huh?
I think so because now
Mm-hmm.
if you start following crypto, it sounds like everyone is in there. But then
Yeah.
I was interested and I started reading some statistics, and apparently it's something like just a couple of percents of world's population that are using crypto and that have crypto. So
Yeah.
it's the very early stage.
So it's still not too late for people to get in on this
No,
and
it's definitely
have
not
a
too late. I
profit.
think it's just it's the industry in the very beginning, especially with all the projects around Ethereum, around decentralized finance, and there's still a lot of projects that are really cheap and that will cost much more in a couple of years.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for being a part of the show today. We had an amazing time talking to you. It was interesting to hear like all this information about cryptocurrency.
Thank you very much for inviting. My pleasure.
Of course, anytime. We had so much fun. And thank you all for tuning in and listening. We appreciate you guys so much. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and check out our other platforms as well. We would appreciate the feedback. We would love to hear from you guys. Until the next one, peace and love.